Hello, neighbors. Very unhappy about what I have to discuss today, but feel obligated to do so. This is less about me speaking as a candidate and more as a concerned citizen. Everywhere I go, I hear about how people are disgusted and often feel threatened by my opponent's behavior on social media. I have generally avoided the topic because I believe in talking about issues and am simply uninterested in adults embarrassing themselves online. I do get very concerned about my neighbors being bullied and feeling threatened, but even there, that's simply not the kind of campaign I want to run and the kind of things I want to focus on. But I will always fight for my community. And now I have to say something because this behavior has crossed lines I simply cannot accept as a citizen. I have directly witnessed what appears to be coordinated censorship and targeting of Broomfield residents and also discovered a highly inappropriate relationship between my opponent and the social media platform Nextdoor. Since I'm being forced to address these topics, first I think I need to provide some background. Fastest way I can think of is to provide one example of disgusting behavior and, as always, I am intentionally sticking to the most public records available. In summer 2021, this behavior was so publicly egregious it had to be discussed in an official council meeting despite the ongoing efforts of some on the council to protect and downplay this bad behavior. Link is in the description with the suggested timestamp you should start at. I strongly suggest listening to the whole discussion, but two comments from the public comment section at that meeting summarize the issue best.
Determine if council would like to direct staff to amend council's rules of procedure to address council members using media.
If our constituents want their emails posted on Nextdoor, they would post them there, and the fear of council members posting emails to council on social media platforms may result in constituents being reluctant to email us their concerns, leads to intimidation. This behavior is disrespectful and unprofessional.
Just wanted to point out that there recently was a lot of hate thrown towards my church, Flatirons Church, by Councilmember Henkel, and that church actually was just vandalized this weekend. And I just feel like it's completely inappropriate to have those discussions, hating on certain churches and bashing them on social media in a public forum.
I would simply like to just ask that discretion is used when social media is utilized. I would also ask that the council members take into consideration when members of the community have something that they would like to say in email and email to the council members, that those emails not be reposted on a social media website. Yes, I realize that information can be accessed by anyone, and that is totally fine, but done so in the proper way and not posted on a social media website. Most recently, Heidi Hinkle did choose to post something that was written to the council member. That individual, which was not me, did not expect their written statement to the council via email to be shared publicly on social media.
A concerned citizen sends an email to the city council, and a city councilor effectively doxes the information as part of ongoing nonsense on social media, then hides behind it technically being information accessible to the public. Well, so are many bankruptcy, arrest, and other records, which I'm sure many on city council would not want shared about them, but I know I prefer not to go out of my way to look those up and share them flippantly, even for public officials. I certainly would be more respectful and supportive of the citizens I represent trying to share feedback with elected officials, but that obviously do not wish to be dragged into the public view, especially for something as reasonable as the email, which of course I got to see and read, as did so many others. This behavior continues through today, and here is what I discovered just this week. Within 24 hours of my last video going live, multiple citizens trying to link to it on Nextdoor found their post blocked, and my opponent put up her own post on the police. In case you haven't seen the video that is too hot for Nextdoor and that the Broomfield tyrants don't want you to see, here are some highlights from that hotbed of extremist views. Let's talk about one of the many unique and special things we have here in Broomfield: a competent and effective police force that understands the community's needs.
But it takes us a long time to backfill all those positions, but we're doing really well as an organization.
You can tell she is focused on hiring the best and retaining them. The Broomfield Police Department is punching way above its weight compared to its size and resources. I am deeply impressed with some of the tactical and operational capabilities BPD has. Not protests in general or outside of Broomfield. Frankly, I can think of several police departments within a short drive that would be much better protest targets. But protests right here in Broomfield. You don't do a darn thing about the bad apples by trying to get a photo op yelling at the good ones. Link to the article is in the description. According to the article, my opponent in the Ward 5 race apparently felt it important to not only attend, but to make some statements. That video was the product of months of research, and the timing of the release was purely based on when I was ready to report out. Given the boom in property crime and the City Council's negligence and incompetence in addressing public security and mental health, I thought this was a critical topic to research in detail. And when I did, I was delighted to learn how effective our police force is despite the Council's failures. There was no other factor to the time of the release, so the blatant and hypocritical posting by my opponent on the topic is staggeringly ham-handed and ridiculous. You should watch the whole video while you still can. But here's the real issue. My opponent, the incumbent, and an elected official, is also officially part of the next door neighborhood review team. Seems like we have a clear First Amendment issue here. Across the country, there have been vigorous discussions about censorship, election interference, and other concerns triggered by things as simple as politicians doing things like blocking people on their social media or deleting comments on their posts to their own personal social media. FYI, the police post is closed to comments, so there are examples of these more gray area violations as well. Arguably, much of this overall is a gray area, but I don't see any possible way that an elected official moonlighting as a social media reviewer can be acceptable. Even if there weren't so many Broomfield cases being reported of censorship of private citizens blocked when sharing and commenting on information from the opposing campaign. I desperately want to give Nextdoor the benefit of the doubt here, and I sincerely hope to see swift action from that company in removing my opponent's reviewer status, investigating any and all of her activities and those associated with her campaign and supporters. I believe we should also have public statements from Nextdoor on their policy and exactly how they will and do handle this. Now, we're still determining appropriate next steps, but for now, I would ask everyone to share this information as broadly as you can and stand up for your rights. We'll share more information as we find it, and in the description are groups you can contact about this. I strongly encourage anyone from the press, other media, or concerned rights groups to reach out for more information. Thank you, and let's stick together. I'm humbled by and grateful for the community's response to my analysis and support for my campaign. Whether as a candidate, a city councilor, or just a citizen, I will always fight for my town and neighbors. Especially if you have personally been targeted by this censorship or any other attacks, please, please stand up for your rights. No matter what happens, ultimately, we as voters have the power of the ballot, and that's the only thing we know for sure we can count on. So please, remember to vote in November.